One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days went by. We're back with another story on the Diamond Effect podcast. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and we got Aaron Olinger. This is going to be a real good one today. So for you ones that's going to tune in live, you in for a treat. And I hope you pass this on and share it, because this particular story here needs to be shared. A lot of people need to know this. And this isn't coming from a point of view. This is coming from facts. But we're going to jump in it here in a little bit. But before, just like always, we jump and see what everybody done for the week. So, Aaron, what's up, brother? How was your week?
Oh, it was great, man. I went out of town this weekend up to Indiana. I did the Martial Arts Hall of Fame tournament. It was a 2-day event. They even had a dinner that evening to commemorate the new people that was admitted to the Hall of Fame. So it was pretty interesting. I got to meet a lot of new people and made some money on top of it. So can't beat it.
You know what I learned about being on this show with Aaron is I always, find out, I guess, that I'm not as interesting as Homeboy. You know what I mean? You got something cool going on and stuff like that. I wasn't so, for me, it was a lot of family and focused on the show, but that's pretty much it. I really had a lame week compared to you over there, Aaron.
I don't know about that, man. I'm just blessed right now.
That's right. Me too. I'm with you.
Good thing. Good thing. Yeah, the week's here has been it's been busy, like always. Like I said, we finished up on standing on business. We starting the new movie Born Protector. That's the first movie that's going to be under Diamond Effect Entertainment. We got the cast done. We got the crew set. We got everything completed. So we're gonna be taking off on that end of September, beginning of October. It's been busy, you know what I mean. But I thank God for it. So um, as I say every week, those of you that know the words of prayer, say one for me that I can continue to do what I've been set out to do. But this story that we're gonna talk about today, it's not even really a story, actually. This is life. This is her
Right.
life. And our guest today, our special guest today, is Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson. A lot of you know who she is. A lot of you don't. But after the show, you'll know exactly who she is. She is a former IRS agent who became one of the most outspoken voices challenging the system. She's a retired CPA, certified fraud examiner, author, financial educator who has basically dedicated her life to exposing how money and power really works in the U.S. She's been on both sides of the system. She's seen it from the inside, and she paid a price for speaking out on it. And today, here, she's going to share the diamonds of truth and help you break from these financial traps that we all go through and try to build some kind of financial independence. But before we put her on, I'm gonna read you her actual bio because she's done a lot. She's really a remarkable lady. Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson is a retired certified public accountant, certified fraud examiner, former IRS agent with 40 years of experience in public, private, and governmental accounting. She is a financial and business strategist who conducts basic and advanced financial education seminars and consults with businesses, individuals, nonprofits, churches, and areas of IRS audit preparation, wealth accreditation, debt elimination, and overall financial literacy. She helped high-earning employees start to grow home-based businesses for additional income. She also teaches business owners how to increase their income and reduce or eliminate taxes. Dr. Jackson has a bachelor's in business administration from the University of Georgia, Master of Arts in Christian Studies from Lutheran Rice University in Lithonia, Georgia, and a Doctor of Ministry in Christian Education from Andersonville Theological Seminary in Camilla, Georgia. She's also successfully completed the Howard University School of Business Executive Leadership and Ministry Training course, and she will continue to assist people from all walks of life in financial arenas to promote financial and personal freedom achievements. Dr. Jackson is also an author and speaker. He's the author of several books, including How to Escape the Rat Race, 4 Keys to Acquire the Life of Your Dreams, How to Stick It to the IRS, Confessions of a Former Insider, Church Wealth, Ministry Health, 5 Pillars of Ministry Growth and Financial Wellness, and co-author of Myron Golden's PhD of Increase Your Income and Reduce Your Taxes, Innovative Strategies for Wealth Creation and Legacy Building. In addition, she is a budding real estate developer with 2 house and community projects in the works in the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica.
Damn.
Several years ago, Sherry made a personal decision to stand up for what she believed in because it was a matter of principle and how tax laws were applied. And as a result, she paid a price. bringing her with a deeper understanding of the tax system on both sides of this aisle. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Sherry Peel Jackson. Good evening, Dr. Jackson. We're glad that you came to the Dominant Effect. How are you today?
I am great, sir, and thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. We're all pleased to have you on today because there's a lot of questions that we're going to ask, but it's a lot of stuff that we've been talking about throughout the months, and I just got a feeling that the stuff that you're going to say is just basically going to clarify a lot of the stuff that we've been bringing up.
Okay.
So, so I'm gonna hit you with the first question, and the first question is: you work with the IRS. What shocked you the most about how that system really operates?
You know, they teach you in school and other places that the government is here to help you. And, you know, you find out when you work there that not only are they not there to help you, but they're there to help the corporations. So one of the cases that I had really woke me up to what's going on. So I moved up in the ranks and I was auditing partnerships and corporations. And the protocol for an audit would be you do the audit, and if you found adjustments were needed, in other words, they did something wrong, whether they meant to or not, then you make the adjustments and you turn the report in. The company always has the right to appeal. But once they send in an appeal arguing against your findings, you get the case back for a rebuttal. So there was a case that I closed. It was maybe I think it's maybe $150 or so thousand. I closed the case, sent it in, and just didn't think anything of it. So one day, maybe about 2 months later, I was passing by the secretary's desk of my manager, and I saw that case on her desk, and I was thinking, why is that case on her desk? It should have been gone a long time ago. So I picked it up. Nobody was there. I picked it up and looked through it, and what had happened is it had gone past me. It didn't come for my rebuttal. It went straight to appeals, and appeals cut their tax down from 150 or 175,000 down to about $75,000. So I went to my manager with it and I said, what's going on here? I said, I didn't even get a chance to rebut whatever it is they said in here to reduce the taxes. And then he looked at me and he said, Sherry, leave it. So I found out later from some other attorneys that I know that are in our arena that they make deals with attorneys. So the IRS attorneys make deals with the other attorneys. So if there's a corporation, and this is a real case that I was told about now, corporation was being audited. They had a lot of adjustments. The IRS attorneys got together with the corporation's attorneys, and the IRS attorney said to the corporate attorney, I'll reduce this tax down if you get me a date with that secretary on the second floor with the big breasts.
Oh, wow. Wow. So that's how they make it. That's how they doing deals these days.
Yeah, that's how they do. And so it's mom and pop companies that suffer. The ones who have a small business, probably a sole proprietorship. They love what they do. They do it well, but they may not know a lot about how to do the bookkeeping, and they can't afford these high-powered attorneys or CPAs to come in and fight for them. So when they get audited, they don't know what to do except for comply. And a lot of times it's something that they don't necessarily need to do. For instance, if they get audited and the IRS comes back and say they owe $30,000, well, it's not necessarily so. If they had someone in their corner that could say, hey, wait a minute, you took away this deduction, but they deserve this deduction, or somebody that could go back and teach them how to substantiate a deduction after the fact. So it's a small business, which is the backbone of this country, but they're always the one that loses based on what the IRS does.
Are they basing those kind of decisions off of like, well, they're going to be scared of us coming in? You know, we tell you owe $30,000. Are they basing where? Aaron, do I hear you? Okay, there we go.
Sorry, man.
No, we're good. So do they work off of emotion that way? Like, because they know that they can kind of bully in that sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically they call these smaller businesses the low-hanging fruit, and they always go for the low-hanging fruit.
It's
Mom
so
and pop
low.
are going to be afraid. You know, everybody's afraid of the IRS, so-called. So they're going to be afraid and they're going to comply as opposed to, fighting back.
Or even on the personal level, right? I mean, someone like me, I don't know and they tell me, hey, you owe $30,000. Let's just say, I may be just inclined just to pay it or whatever the case is, and yeah, I can see how that can be manipulated. When in fact, maybe I only owed 10,000.
Right.
You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Right. And that's normally the case. I had a case out of California with a lady, and they were saying she owed and she didn't understand why she owed. So I had her order the transcripts. And what had happened is on one of the transcripts, they had her job on there twice. So once they took the job off there, she owed nothing, but they had it doubled, and she didn't know to go and check the transcripts. But these are things that cause people to lose a lot of money and sometimes go out of business because they just don't know what to do.
So is that something that they should automatically check before they send you something? Shouldn't that be something that they should go back and make sure that this is exactly what it is before they send you that scare letter? Like, okay, you owe us 50,000, and you panicking. Shouldn't there be some kind of protocol where they go through and make sure, like, okay, we went through everything. This is exactly how much they owe.
Yeah, sure, but that's too much like right. They're not going to do that. They just, it's a big behemoth that moves very slowly and it doesn't care. So no, they're not going to do that. It's up
But
to you to do
when it
that.
comes up to me paying, though, it doesn't move slowly.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm going to
Was
give
there
you the first diamond tip. The IRS has to prove income. You have to prove expenses. So whenever they're trying to say that you owe more income, they have to prove that.
got you? Yeah,
So it's their burden of proof. Okay, interesting. Totally.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Was there a specific moment that you realized that you like no longer want to be involved with the IRS system?
Yes, and it was actually after I left the IRS. I left the IRS for family reasons. I was moving up in the ranks and I had children. I was married at the time, and I just was spending too much time and energy with the IRS and those issues and not enough with my family. So I just quit. Not I didn't have another job since I was already a CPA. I just went in my basement and opened a CPA firm. But it was
Wow.
then that people started coming to me because they were scared when I was still an IRS agent. They were coming to me and saying, "Hey, I hear the income taxes not for us. I hear that, we aren't supposed to be the ones paying." And I kept hearing it, but I wasn't really paying attention until at some point or another, one of my clients, which was a pastor, came and said, "Hey, one of my parishioners has all this information that she wants to share with me about the IRS and taxes, and I want you to listen to it." So this lady water hosed me down with all this information that she learned about. I took it. And then she called a couple of weeks later and said, "Hey, Miss Jackson, all that information that I told you, it's in the USA Today. Go and pick up a USA Today and you'll see what I mean." So I went and found, a paper stand, which is rare, and found the USA Today, and We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education had put out a full page ad in the USA Today, and it said, Dear We the People, the income taxes are fraud." And it was a whole 2 pages full of a lot of the information that basically told why the income tax wasn't for us. And the 2 things that caught me in that article were, number one, there was another former IRS agent from the Criminal Investigation Division named Joe Bannister that had written a book. It was a report that was turned into a book because he had researched for over 2 years whether we are supposed to pay the income tax, and he couldn't find that we could. And he was trying to uphold his constitutional duty, and went to his bosses and gave them the report, and they wouldn't answer. They said, "We're not going to answer this, and we're giving you a couple of weeks to take off and see whether you want to still work here." And so he took off a week, and then he tendered his resignation. So that was in there. So I definitely ordered those book. I ordered that book, but I ordered 2 of them because I always order 2 of something like that. And the second thing in there was a $50,000 reward given by a man named Bill Conklin. So Bill Conklin had a $50,000 reward for anybody who could prove that most Americans that live and work in the 50 states have to file an income tax return and pay an income tax. And, you know, $50,000 looked good to me. And I still had my codes and regulations from when I quit. So I started researching and researching, and I couldn't find it. But that straw that broke the camel's back was my introduction to G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. That 800 some odd page book that I sat there and read and steamed. I was seething when I read that about the Rockefellers and all of those people up there that took that trip down to Jekyll Island, Georgia, and made up this Federal Reserve thing. So my mind said, okay, so I'm sitting here working. At the time, I had a CPA firm. I had a large contract. And sometimes I was working 16 hours a day just to get reports out so that my family could have a decent vacation. You know, so I'm working really hard, trying to make a lot of money, make sure the bills are paid, make sure we have some kind of leisure time. And I'm finding out that the Federal Reserve is not federal, that it's a private banking cartel collecting
right.
over $86 million an hour in interest from the American people.
An
So
hour.
an hour. So the Rockefellers and all those, their children's children will never have to work a day in their life. But my father and my grandfather and my great grandfather had to work and sometimes be slaves so that these people that are not even born yet, the children of the Federal Reserve owners that will be born in 2046, will never have to work a day in their lives. And that was when I snapped my head back like this and I said, no. So it was his book.
Wow. So so we've seen some stuff in the news here recently about Trump trying to fire one of the governors of the Federal Reserve. And they said that he actually doesn't have the power to do that because she was a congressional hire. So he couldn't come in and do that. But why is the Federal Reserve so, like you would think, like normal people would think that the president could stick his hands in everything, which that's what he's been doing here lately. But why is the Federal Reserve so, how can you put it, so structured to where even the president can't dip his hand in it?
Yeah, that's how they created themselves down in Jekyll Island. They're impervious to and don't have to answer to the government. They're a non-auditable private banking cartel. So they can fuss all they want to, and Congress can fuss, and the president can fuss, and even the judiciary can fuss. But the Federal Reserve has set themselves up to where they're impervious to all of that. And that's why it's a problem, because the Constitution says that the Congress is supposed to, be in charge of the money. But they gave that authority over to the Federal Reserve. That's the issue.
Yeah. Could I read something to you, Bishop?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is from a book I just acquired. It's Secrets of the Temple. It's how the Federal Reserve runs the government. And in the chapter where they talk about a car with two drivers, they state that the Fed was a central political institution of the American system, capable of altering the lives and fortunes of private citizens more directly and forcefully than any other component of the government. I mean, that right there shows how much power they're exerting.
Right. So when they say, "Oh, we're going to raise the interest rates 1 point or whatever," everybody's panicking, or that we're going to lower the, it shifts everything when they do that, and it's all just playing with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was looking at something today where it was talking about the concept of dropping the interest rate, and they were saying that even if you dropped the interest rate, everything that's already high as it is, it's just going to continue to get higher. It's not going to drop because the interest rate dropped. And they were using it more along the lines of the housing crisis. They was like, okay, just because the interest rate drops doesn't mean the house price drops. The house price is going to go higher. And it said that the way that it's going now, even if they dropped the the interest rate, we're still looking at a hyperinflation type situation. And one of the things that we've been talking about on here quite a bit is the dollar, and being the fact that right now it's steady losing. You know, it's steady losing value. It's been losing value since June of last year when the petro agreement ceased, and now you got gold prices almost 4,000. You got silver that just hit $40
41
an ounce, and it's we've been talking about that eventually they're going to crash this dollar on purpose to be able to start a CBDC, to be able to control how money circulates in this country. What do you see?
So I see that it's always been about control. The income tax is about control. The CBDC will be about control. All you have to do is look at China. They have this thing called the credit score, and they have public restrooms. And if you have a bad credit score, you cannot get toilet paper to go into the public restroom. You better carry your own toilet paper, even if they let you in. So it's people were joking about it back 20 years ago about how at some point or another the government was going to stop you from being able to order a pizza if you were overweight, or they were going to stop you from being able to fly on a plane if they figured out. Recently they're talking about these the energy, if you've been on a plane too much and you're over your quota. All of this stuff is what's happening in other countries, specifically China. Some of that is already happening in Australia, and I see that being the trend of what we're experiencing bit by bit. It's that frog in the pot, and the pot is not quite boiling yet, but it's getting hot, and people don't know what to do. So yeah, it's gonna get worse.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, well, just wanted to add, a lot of people don't understand just how much power the Fed is wielding. I mean, if the Fed decides to go with a loose money policy or tight money policy, or if they decide to raise or lower interest rates, Wall Street literally holds its breath until the Fed makes their move that morning. And then you either got chaos in the market where everybody's selling or everybody's buying, but they always wait to hear what the federal chairman's got to say, and then the market directly reacts to it. But I'll stop there.
So looking back, and I know this is a personal thing that you went through. What did standing up to this system cost you, and was it worth it to you to do it?
I want to say truth is true for everybody, or it's not truth at all. I had too much confidence in the American people, and that I was thinking to myself, if they did take me to court, then there would be at least one person that had enough backbone to say, no, I think she's on to something. But that wasn't the case. I went and stood up against them. And what they did was, I was very outspoken about the income tax. I was being asked to speak all over the country. And I had even some international speaking engagements where Americans would go offshore and talk about things that may be taboo to talk about here. And they got tired of that. So Aaron Russo was a movie director. He made Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and The Rose with Bette Midler. He decided to do the documentary America, Freedom to Fascism, and flew us out to Hollywood. Some of us, the former IRS agents that I talked about, former FBI agent, constitutional attorneys, and business people, to do the movie. And after that, we were more than low-flying gnats on their radar screen. So they had congressional hearings with Charles Grassley, which was the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee hearing. They had our pictures blown up on easels in the Senate. And I didn't go because I knew they weren't going to let us speak. The ones that did go said that they were arguing about how to shut us down, how to stop us from talking. And then they decided, I guess, to prosecute us. So they came and raided my house in July of 2004. They came at 7:45 in the morning. They left at 5 o'clock. They left with about 32 boxes. I had on a t-shirt That's all I had on. I was in my basement office typing up something for Larkin Rose, and somebody was beating at the door really hard, just banging at the door. My mother does that. So I was like, what is my mother doing over here at 7 something in the morning? So I, ran upstairs to the door, and there's red lasers on my face saying federal agents open up. And I'm just standing there thinking, I don't want to let these people in my house, but some of them might have itchy trigger fingers. And I don't want my children to wake up and come downstairs and see their mom laying in a pool of blood. So I open up the door, and I know you guys can believe this. The first 2 people that entered my house were county police officers, not the IRS. So they were let into my house by county police officers. There was 15 or 20 agents. They just started running all around my house, and they were asking me, did I have guns and all that. And all I said to them is, I do not comply. I do not consent. I do not consent. I do not consent. So they were in the backyard. They literally I don't know what they were told about me, guys. They had metal detectors in the backyard trying to, going in circles to see if maybe something was buried in the backyard. And then one lady finally said, do you want to go put some clothes on? So of course I want, because you got guns on me. I want to put some. So I went in my room and I found one of the T-shirts that basically had some tax stuff on it. I put that on. I put some jeans on, and they tried to corral us in my living room. Well, actually, the family room, and there was a bay window out there. That's why I was able to look back and see them with the metal detectors in the backyard. So I wouldn't sit down, and I was angry, so I kept getting up and going in the kitchen, and they were telling me I couldn't go in my kitchen. I was not listening to that. So, I got water, because when I get angry, I dry up, and I was just standing in one of them's face to face, within a foot of his face. And I stood there with my fist balled up, just saying to myself, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. So he just couldn't take it anymore, and he went and got another agent. But anyway, this went on. This was 2004. In 2007, by then they couldn't find a felony, because they wanted to hit me with a felony. So all they had was a misdemeanor charge of willful failure to file, because I didn't file. I decided to keep what I earned, and took me to trial on that. And the jury was too afraid to acquit me for fear of being audited or run after by the IRS themselves. So I had 4 years where I made 6 figures, and then I stopped filing. And those 4 years that I did not file, but I had W-2s, and we'll talk about that. I had K-1s. I didn't have W-2s. I had K-1s for my company. They gave me a 4-year sentence on a misdemeanor charge. That is unprecedented. 4 years on a misdemeanor charge, because I was just too big of a mouth telling people truth. Because, if it wasn't the truth, then I would just be some kind of, person, a crazy person, a lunatic or something like that. So yeah, I lost my business at the time. My marriage failed, because that was, that period of time. I actually spent 3 years in federal prison. They had to give me 6 months good time, and they had to give me 6 months halfway house. So that was a year off from the 4 years. And they kept me in there 3 years to the day, because, I was whatever they wanted to call me. I was a infamous person who was telling people about this. And, they came out. And when I came out, and they tried to charge me with $385,000 in taxes and penalties because I didn't pay. So I'm like, no, you're not going to drown me and then get me out of the ocean and then hang me. So anyway, so basically I had to start over from scratch. I basically hit rock bottom and started to dig, but I dug my way back to the surface, and I dug my way out back to 6 figures. Like I said, I lost a marriage. My children my children and I are very close. And my parents, that was really bad, because I'm an only child, and my parents, that really hurt them. That's what I really hate about it, because they're elderly now, but back then they only had one daughter, and she was locked up.
Wow, that's just sad on a misdemeanor charge.
Yeah, you have people that do things to little children. That there's one in particular. That guy, he's a heir of the DuPont family, and he did something to his own 3-year-old daughter. And the judge said that he had maybe house arrest or something, because he couldn't fare well in prison. And he did not have to go to prison when he did that to his daughter.
Mm.
Y'all can look it up. He's a heir of the DuPont family.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yours was more along the lines of that they put you there because you were telling too much.
Right.
It
Right.
wasn't.
They
It
don't.
wasn't about what
Anytime
you
you're
did.
talking about money.
Right. Right. It wasn't about what you did. It was the fact that you were telling what they doing.
Right.
So, what's that saying that was coming out a little while ago? Mike, is cool when they do it. Was a problem when I do it.
Right. That's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In your okay, you've been on both sides. You've been in the IRS. You was also over fraud and all that. What is the biggest lie or misconception that people believe about taxes in America?
We have been brainwashed by spin doctors and media to think there's nothing sure in life but death and taxes. That's a saying that even high schoolers have heard, and it's not true. It's a misconception. It's what they want average people to think. So there's this woman named Leona Helmsley, and she was running around talking about only the poor people pay taxes, and she was right. When Hillary Clinton was running against Donald Trump, I think that was in 2016, she got on there and said Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes, and everybody said they sucked all the air out of the room, and then they called me because I don't have TV. So I was, that next day, everybody was calling. Did you hear? Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes? So I went out online to see that, that part of the debate. And he said he was a smart man. And he's a smart man because he knows how to manipulate the tax code. The tax code is written for businesses. Mm-hmm. So when you have a business, you can write off everything but the kitchen sink. A person that has a job gets a W-2. The person that they work for, the company that they work for, takes out everything before they even get it. So you think you made $1,000? No, you come back with $750 because they've taken that and they've given it to the insidious representatives of Satan, known as the IRS, right? So, but a business person is going to make $1,000 and they get to write off their cell phones, their office in their home, their automobile expenses, all that. And if there's anything left, then they pay tax on that. So when he said he was a smart man, we need to learn what he knows. And that's what I've done. I know what the wealthy do. If you do what the wealthy do, you can have what they have. And so that's where we should be concentrating instead of sitting there watching the electronic income reducer and electronic intellect reducer called the TV. Because those people on there are getting rich. It's like sitting up watching football. And I know men like football and some women do too. But until somebody, what is his name? Those people that play Cam Newton and whoever they are, until they start stroking me a check, my team is the Jackson team.
Tuesday. So are there legal ways that people can structure their lives and reduce independence on the tax system as a whole?
I missed that question. Are there ways that people can what, sir?
Are there ways that the average person can restructure their lives and reduce dependence on the IRS system?
Yeah, of course. I mean, wealthy people do it all the time. We have to change our mindsets. Everyday people spend billions of dollars a year on conspicuous consumption, like Nikes and these Birkin bags that people are buying for $5,000, $20,000 and don't have $5 to put in. We have to change our mindsets to the point where we know that, that foolishness is not good. We have to start making sure that we keep, protect, and grow our resources. Mm-hmm. So when you have a mindset change, you're going to say, okay, I have a job. I might not have that much of an education. I have a job and I'm going to keep my job. But instead of coming home, turning on the electronic income reducer and then watching it until it watches me, because when my eyes close, I'm going to come home, get my dinner, decompress, spend some time with my family, and then start on my home-based business. I know that the last statistics that I saw from the SBA, 37% of people had a home-based business and they were making about $50,000. So there's no excuse for us not to change our mindsets, which will change our financial situation. Because when you have a business, for example, if you start a business and in that first year you have a loss because you didn't make much money, but you spent a lot of money on different things. Let's make it simple. You got a $10,000 loss in your business. You borrowed money, or you had some of your savings that you used, and you tried to make some money and you made a little money, but you lost $10,000. Well, you have a W-2 over here for $50,000. You've made $50,000 in your job. When the taxes are done, that $50,000 is going to be reduced by the $10,000 that you lost, because the tax code is written for businesses. So most of the people are not going to be like I was, defiant, and say, I'm not going to pay. You know, what I tried to do is cut the head off the beast, and that didn't work. And a lot of others have too, because they have too much of our money and they have too much power at this moment. So what I teach people to do, and what people are more comfortable doing, is starving the beast. And the way you starve the beast is you make sure that the beast gets less of your resources. In doing that, you have to start a home-based business. I have an associate, his name is Norm. He started a home-based business. It started going well. 3 years later, in December, on his job, they had a Christmas party. He came in dressed like Santa Claus. He had a big old bag full of stuff. He gave all his coworkers some presents and went over to his boss, gave him a big present and said, you know, I'm going to have to fire you. I'm not going to be back in January. And he walked out. I love it.
So, Dr. Sherry, I've got a question real quick. Would you say, regarding an individual, just me, not a business, you're saying not only to have and treat yourself like a business, but actually make yourself a business, like make an LLC or something like that, and try to, you know, you have to treat your life as a business, because that's the code that it was written for, right? Was a business. Yeah. So at that point, that's probably your best option, right?
Yes, I advise everybody, my clients and everybody, to start a home-based business, a legitimate home-based business. You have something that you can offer to the marketplace. You have some skill. You know, you could, maybe you play the piano and want to give piano lessons. Maybe you know how to, your dad might have taught you how to do a little bit of plumbing, something that you can offer to the marketplace that you can make money on. And so taking your regular, wherever you get money from, my dad calls it beating the drum. So that check that you're getting every 2 weeks or every month or every week or wherever, keep that going to make sure that you can pay your bills, your mortgage, your rent, car insurance, and all that. But then take that extra money that you're making in your home-based business, not to go buy a new car, Mercedes-Benz, or a whole bunch of flat screen TVs or anything, but taking that money, putting some of it aside for buying hard assets. What I mean by hard assets: silver, gold, and real estate. I don't invest in anything that can disappear in the blink of an eye. In September 2008, the stock market went down 777.68 points, and Americans lost $10.3 trillion in their savings. It didn't just disappear, poof. It went to the banks that were too big to fail, to foreign banks, and to golden parachutes for those people who caused that situation to go ahead and retire. And I don't understand why people have gone back to putting money into that. I know people who lost $200,000-$300,000 during that 2008 crisis. Well, no, I'm not going to disappear. I'm not going to invest in anything that can disappear because it's controlled by someone else. Silver I can hold, gold I can hold, real estate I can put my feet on. And so I tell people, once you get your business up and going, start buying you some coins. I know it's $40 now for silver and going up on gold, but you know, you can get some smaller, you can get some tenths of gold. Start saving in gold and silver, and then start thinking about getting some real estate.
Yeah, no, when it comes to gold and silver and stuff like that, people doesn't understand economics to that level, but kind of breaking it down into going, okay, well, the actual value of, well, gold itself doesn't change. What it is the dollar changing, and that's where you see that difference, right? And so, yeah, I would definitely hedge on the side of gold rather than the dollar at this point.
Right. Gold has been a medium of exchange for over 5,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, this is one of the things that we've been talking about for months. about getting gold, silver, not investing in the actual companies, but to get it actually holding it in your hand. And me and Aaron show on here every now and again, like we done picked up some silver and some
Yeah, they
gold
show it
and
off. They're
gold
like, "Hey,
backs
what
and all
up?"
this stuff. Like this is what y'all need to do, and you
Yeah.
need to do it now while it's cheap, especially silver. I
Yeah.
mean, you need to rack up on it because this is gonna be something that you're gonna be able to use later on. I had just seen on a on another show earlier today where two billionaires jumped on this silver mine, and the silver mine had been nobody had touched it for well over 10 years. Somebody had, and they got it for almost pennies. They they got it super cheap, and come to find out that it is loaded with silver, and they had, just for the mining that they've already done to it, they had only touched like 1% of the silver that was there, and they about to rack up on this
Yeah.
silver, and they're saying that right now there's a gold shortage. There's really not a gold shortage, but that's what they're saying. They're saying it's a gold shortage to us because everybody else is buying it.
Well, and not only that, the Federal Reserve is taking as much as they can too.
Right, right. So you got all the reserves. You got the BRICS nations. You got BlackRock,
Yeah.
Vanguard. All of them are buying this up. So when they keep sitting here talking about, oh well, it's a gold shortage, it's a silver shortage. No, it's not. Y'all buying it all to
Yeah.
make it. You making it short on our end because it's going to be harder for us to get it. That's why if you're going to get it, you need to get it now, because when they go through and crash this dollar, which we know that they're going to do, we've been calling it for the past 6 months. They're going to deliberately do it. And with the CBDC, like I said, people right now, people wouldn't go for it because they don't want the government involved in their business. They don't want them to know how you spending your money. What are you doing? But there's two things that makes this make sense. The first thing that was said in the World Economic Forum, where they said by 2030, everybody will own nothing and be happy. And the second part of it was the what was it, Aaron, that we was looking at? It said basically to the effect of, if the dollar crashes and it's not worth the paper that it's printed on, you will beg us to do this.
Right. Give relief. Yep.
You will beg us to bring this central currency in because your regular dollar ain't going to be worth the paper it's printed on. So, like I said, I've been diving into, silver, gold, buying gold backs, all kind of stuff. I mean, I've been trying to dip into everything that I could possibly dip into that I knew that was going to be able to hold its value increase. I slacked down on buying the crypto and all that. I mean, I still have crypto, but I know with a flick of a switch that can be gone. You know what I mean? So I'm not dumping my live well into that. I'm dealing more with what I can actually hold on to. Go ahead, Aaron. What were you gonna say, bro?
Yeah. I just wanted to tell the audience that if $41 an ounce for silver is too much for you, they do make half ounce bullion coins. They do make quarter ounce bullion coins. If you can't afford $3,600 for gold, they do make half ounce. They make quarter ounce. They make tenth of an ounce. And if that's still too big, you can buy it in 1 gram, 2 gram, 2.5 gram, little tiny gold bars. And it's a way of hedging against this inflation that we're going up against. But I do want to ask the doctor this question. It's kind of a two-parter. One, I'm trying to build generational wealth for next generation, my daughter, my grandchildren. So I am purchasing gold and silver and things, but also am considering a trust. I want to get your feeling on that. And then I wanted to get your feelings if there's 2, 3, 4 investments out there that you think would be a good, safe thing to look into that gives you tax advantages. They can't, that shield your money. I'd be interested in knowing if you want to share anything.
Okay, so the first part about the trust, I believe in trust. It has to be the right trust. A lot of times the banks don't want to honor pure trust. A pure trust is going to be the best trust. But
Okay.
if you look at how the wealthy people are set up, they have trust, they have foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation. Why is that? These private interest foundations are key. So if you're using limited family partnerships along with trust and foundations, then it can minimize the tax down to 5%. Secondly, as far as the legacy is concerned, in building legacy, you first of all, you definitely want to make sure that you're teaching your children and grandchildren, because they'll lose it in a generation if you're not teaching them what they need to do as far as learning about finances. Second part of your question was about investments. The biggest investment that I tell my clients to invest in is themselves.
Okay.
Because you're in control. I want peace and freedom, and I know that I can't depend on the government nor other corporations to bring me that peace and freedom. So
True that.
I make sure that, aside from the gold and the silver, I'm doing some kind of a business or several businesses, I have multiple streams of income. I have rental property. I have, the books. I've written 10 books. They bring in money overnight in my sleep, people are
Wow.
buying the books.
You
All
have
of
10
these
books
things.
behind you? That's a
I
huge deal.
do. Yeah. Most of them are they're on my website. A couple of them aren't published anymore. But the ones that are relevant, like How to Stick It to the IRS, that's my flagship book. My mentor, one of my mentors said, "You got the nerve to get out of prison and write a book called How to Stick It to the IRS." And I said, they stuck it to me. I'm sticking it right back to them. But that's a big seller. And How to Escape the Rat Race. And then my other mentor, Myron Golden, Increasing Your Income and Decrease Your Expenses. He's a master at increasing income, and I'm a master at decreasing expenses. So, that book is helpful. But we have to be strategic thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, again, normalize critical thinking. We can't sit in front of the TV and let people think for us. So if I sit in my chair and I say, how can I create a legacy? How can I bring in income? What do I invest in? I invest in myself to make sure that I think of streams of income that are relevant for right now. And that's what, Aaron, I would teach my children. Usually when I have clients, I'm teaching their children too. One of the ways that I'm teaching the younger kids is, do YouTube. It's amazing how much money you can make on YouTube. One of my mentors makes $40,000 a month on YouTube.
Wow.
It's no joke. It's a real game.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's real. So doing something that's relevant and doing something that is going to serve the marketplace, not what you want to do. Just because you got an archaeology degree, you're not going to get people to buy books on archaeology necessarily or listen to your podcast on archaeology. You need to go out there and find out what is needed and wanted in the marketplace and make something of it, because multiple streams of income is the way to go.
Right.
And that's how you build the legacy. And, money management, because if you're blowing it all, it's not going to do any good. Making sure that as you make the money, you reinvest part of it, you learn the tax code or get someone that knows it to teach you how to save. I've got a client that just came on in March, over $1 million in income, just drowning in taxes. Within 24 hours, I'd saved him $22,400 in taxes, but put it back in his pocket. So you got to know these things, or you got to have somebody that knows them. And, you got to invest in yourself. And sometimes you got to invest in mentors. I've invested, 75,000 plus in mentors, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to go with somebody who knows what they're doing. So I won't take 10,000 hours trying to learn what they learned. And now it's changing. So investing in yourself, investing in mentors, investing in someone that's going to help you build and grow.
I agree. I mean, even my YouTube channel, right, is under an LLC, right? It's kind of crazy, but YouTube is actually the biggest small business in America right now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of actually a crazy thing for people to understand, but it's very true. But now I wanted to ask you a question. Where do we find your books at?
SherryPeelJackson.com.
Okay. Perfect.
Here's a question. I've been kind of sums up everything that we've been talking about. In your personal opinion, based on your experience, and where do you see America in the next 5 to 10 years?
I don't see America in the next 5 to 10 years, sir. I see that in my personal opinion, we have until 2030 to get it together. You've already said you've all Harari called us useless eaters. Klaus Schwab said we're gonna own nothing and be happy. If I want peace and freedom, I can't be around for this foolishness that they're about to do. They already had one pandemic and a whole bunch of people, were taken out. They're planning another pandemic, and all of the other things that I've heard from people that are credible let me know that I need to be running flat-footed. I ran track for all the way through my freshman year in college. I need to be running like that to make sure that I'm putting the things in place for myself and my family for the plan B, because plan A, being here and thinking the American dream is going to work for you, is no longer. Mm-hmm. So I don't see America being as it is right now at all in 10 or 15 years. I don't.
Yeah, I'd like to ask her, do you feel at this time that people should be developing a preparedness mindset?
I think they should have been doing that 2 years ago, but yes, right, sir. Preparedness. It's what I call a plan B, for example. Mm-hmm. If the grocery stores close down here in the United States, we are going to have pandemonium. If the grocery stores close down in Costa Rica, you just go out in the backyard and pick something off the tree, because at least 60% of the trees have something to eat on them. Or you go across the street with a net and some high boots and get in the water and get you some fish. These are things that people need to start thinking about. Are you living in a subdivision? Even if you have some resources in your home, as long as your neighbor is hungry, you're not safe. Are you prepared for that? I mean, there's so much, but yeah, there's this book, I think it was Hemingway, and it was talking about the quote, the question to the guy was, how did you go into bankruptcy? And the answer was gradually, then suddenly. Well, we're almost out of the gradually, because when it happens, it's going to be too late to start preparing.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There was somebody had just made a comment on here that said that Trump said that he wanted to get rid of the income tax. Is that logical?
As far as logical is concerned, none of the stuff they do is logical.
Right.
They've been trying to get rid of the income tax for a long time. It's always the Senate that says no, because they know that if they don't have money coming from our pockets, they will not have the control and power that they have.
That's right.
The Democrats and the Republicans are two wings on the same bird flying us into the abyss. Nothing has changed for us in a positive way long term for the last 100 years. So you should know that. It's like a kabuki dance. They act like they're fighting, like shadow boxing. They act like they're fighting each other, but in the background, they're at parties together, backslapping and, doing deals together. And we are considered by them as sheeple. And what they're doing is putting the sheeple in the sheeple corral. And those of us that have, realized what's going on, we've pulled ourselves out. And the best we can do is try to pull other people out, because it's something that the masses are not the masses are not wanting. It's cognitive dissonance. They don't want to hear it. So I make up words sometimes. And so, ignorant is when you don't know. Ignorant is when you don't want to know. Indignant is when you don't know, you don't want to know, and you wear it as a badge of honor. And there's too many ignorant and indignant people out here. And I'm 62 years old. I don't have time for foolishness. I don't have time to be dealing with these people. If you want to get on the train and learn how to prepare, then come on. If you don't, I can't help people. I learned that in prison. You can't help people that don't want to be helped. So yeah, we were in a crisis situation, and we've been in a crisis situation, in my opinion, since the pandemic. When in 2019 they came up with that agenda. What was it? It was a series of movies, 201, Agenda 201, where they did a mock pandemic, and then it was already going on. People say it started the next year, early 2000, but my sources tell me that that was already spreading at the time that they did that whole series of movies. So what do they have planned now? What is Bill Gates doing now? Why is he buying up all the farmland? Why on God's green earth are we letting Chinese buy up all this land?
Mm-hmm.
It's not by It's not an accident, guys. It's not an accident that this is happening. Our farmers supply us with food. Our farmers are being put out by these industrialists. And so we got to think about that. Are we having a food crisis? Are we really
Oh, yeah,
having a water
definitely.
crisis?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you got Bill Gates is, like I said, Bill Gates buying all the farmland because he don't actually want the land. He wants the water that's underneath it.
Yeah. The aquifers.
Mm-hmm. And the Nestle company is actually in cahoots with that as well. And they're
So
trying to
is
trying
so
to buy up all that stuff so that way they can control the water.
yeah.
That's going to be the next oil.
So is BlackRock. They're involved in it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I've always said it. I thought it was weird for China to come over here and buy land over here, but you can't buy land in China.
You can't even own a corporation over there, let alone buy land. But
Right.
yeah, BlackRock, Vanguard, and the rest of them are, and that's the people that are really running this thing. You don't know their names, but they're running this thing, and we're sitting up here like bread and circuses, entertaining ourselves.
Mhm.
And we know all the statistics for the whoever won the football Super Bowl in last year or this year, earlier this year, and all that. But we really don't know what's going on with these 15-minute cities. So that's a problem. I live in the Metro Atlanta area, and we have what's called MARTA, Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, and we have these MARTA trains, and just about every train station there's apartments popping up, large numbers of apartments popping up near the train stations. So I did a video on that on my YouTube channel, but I was at one, and then I was on the way home and saw another one. It's like, hey, you know what? This is another whole station, and it's got another whole set of apartments coming up. And people are not putting two and two together because we have not been taught. I was taught, because I'm older, I was taught how to critically think and think strategically. My father taught me how to play chess. And everybody needs, forget about checkers. Learn how to play chess. Teach your children, your grandchildren how to play chess, because they will be strategic thinkers. They made that move. How does that move affect me? And what do I need to do to make sure that my queen or my king is not taken?
That is good. Now you have some you've when me and you were talking, you was telling me about what you were doing over in Costa Rica.
Right.
So I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
And me and Aaron was talking about it as well. So let everybody know exactly what you're doing over there. I mean, this is your form of preparation for what you know is coming, and this is what you're
that's
doing.
awesome.
Right. So I've always wanted to have a place that was like wealthy people, the Rockefellers and all those. They have a big compound over in one of the islands, St. Thomas. I travel a lot. I'm a world traveler. I love to travel. So I did research. I said, I want to make sure that I have a flag planted in more than one place. When you're in battle, if you're standing flat-footed with your feet next to each other, somebody's going to be able to push you over. But if you have a foot over here and a foot over here and a foot over here, and you're moving, then strategically you're going to be fine. So I did the research, and I chose Costa Rica. You can drive to Costa Rica through Texas. So when my family members that aren't on board see the writing on the wall, or they start feeling the excrement that's hitting the portable cooling device, then they're going to be able to drive to Costa Rica. You will not starve to death. Like I said before, there's fruit and food on 70% of the trees. You will not freeze to death. They don't tell you how many people froze to death when that Nord Stream pipeline was burnt, that was blown up. So you won't freeze to death, you won't starve to death. There's freshwater and saltwater fish in our area, within 15 minutes. I'm on the Caribbean coast. The west coast of Costa Rica is all developed and it's the tourist area. You've got the Hiltons, the Hyatts, the Starbucks, the Hard Rock cafes. Over on our side on the Caribbean coast, we just got our first McDonald's in 2019. So I decided to go over there and the food is great. This is the area where there's a lot of Afro-Caribbeans. The Spaniards came over and they brought the Chinese to build a railroad from the Port of Limon, which is the only port in the country, to the Central Valley. But the Chinese had got malaria. So they brought people up from Barbados, Jamaica, and Trinidad Tobago, and they settled there. So the food is good. It's got, that Jamaican vibe, a lot of Bob Marley. They smoke weed at random. But anyway, I've purchased land in the hills and I've purchased land near the beach. So I have two communities coming up, Middle of Paradise Beach and Middle of Paradise Hills. For those who don't want to be by the beach, they can be in the hills. And so that's at middleofparadise.com. And people have decided and are deciding that they want to make sure that they have a plan B. So some, like myself, want to retire there, and some want to retire later, but right now they want to do rental income. And I go over there about 4 times a year. I want to go over there more often. Right now I can't because I have family obligations here. So that's what we're doing. And the houses are the land and the houses are not that expensive because it's a developing area. So people will have the opportunity. I think that window is going to close pretty soon because the Canadians, Americans, and a lot of the Europeans, a lot of Germans, they're coming over because they've discovered that Caribbean blue.
Well, I was just about to ask you, did you specifically buy on the opposite side of the island on purpose because you studied the landscape there and was like, well, they're going to expand over here for dang sure, and you see this as a big investment for you as well. I think that everybody should do that in any type of property they're buying, right?
Right. No, what happened was one of my clients called and said that his brother married a Costa Rican girl and her father had a lot of property, but he was cash poor and land rich and he wanted to start selling some of the property. And I said, I can't sell anything that I haven't seen. So my son and I went over there in January of 2018. Wow. And I fell in love with the place.
I bet.
That's what happened. I fell in love with the Caribbean coast. The land said to me, I can sustain you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now you have a Caribbean Costa Rican expedition that's going to be going on here soon. You want us to fill everybody in on that?
Yeah. So I've started taking people down. Actually, the first time I went down, I had 2 people with me because I was excited about it and they went too. So people that are interested in maybe having Costa Rica as their plan B, I've put together an expedition and we're going to be down there. For the most part, I'm going to be down there October 11th through the 26th, but the most of the people that have signed up are going to be down there that first week. So October 11th through 17th or 18th. And I'm going to do tours. I'm going to teach them about the area. I mean, people go places a lot of times. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. And I don't like wasting time. So it's like they go down there on your own. That's fine. You get a hotel. You don't really know where you are. You're just traveling around. But going down there with me, you're going to be specifically seeing all of the highlights. I'm going to take you on the city tour. We're going to go to the native area. We're going to go to the waterfalls, go see the land, the culture, the food is off the chain. And, so they'll get the full experience in that week. And that's something that they can email me about. I don't think that link is out there anywhere, but if they want to get in touch with me about coming to Costa Rica in October, that's connect@sherrypeeljackson.com and I'll send them the link because, I will give them information about what flights to take, what time they need to arrive. If they want to go from the main airport in San Jose to Limon, there's 3 or 4 different ways you can get there. They can decide that. I know where the hotels are. I'd like everybody to be together. One lady booked it on her own, and although she was in the same city, it took us 15 minutes to pick her up every time we needed to pick her up. So I don't want that to happen again. But yeah, this is going to be an expedition. When you leave there, you'll know whether this is something that you are really considering doing. Some people already know. Some people have looked at my website, middleofparadise.com, and all they're doing is going down there, confirm, and get their feet on the ground. And it's on because the lots are going to be going because smart people want to get a plan B like wealthy people do.
Absolutely. This has been a great conversation. I mean, I picked up quite a bit on this one.
Yes, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Very good one. Very good conversation indeed. Everybody, this was Dr. Sherry Pill. She was dropping the diamonds of truth today. The truth about how we see money, taxes, and freedom, actually. So if today's conversation made you think, then we already did our job. But don't stop there. Go back, replay, take notes, pass this on, because the steps to financial independence isn't about theory. It's about action. So to connect with Dr. Jackson, we had a link at the bottom there that you can contact her, check out our books, her resources, her teachings, and and if this episode gave you any value, like, follow, share, subscribe to the channel. Send this off to someone that you care about, because more people need to wake up. And the more people that wake up, the stronger we become. To everybody that clicks in every week, I appreciate you. Continue to do so. If you're not on the Diamond Effect on Facebook, on the group, go on there and click on it. We'll be posting a lot of different stuff on there throughout the week, a lot of information. And any questions that you need to know, you can always hit us up. We'll post the links on the bottom there where you can get a hold of everybody. Dr. Jackson, thank you very much. We're going to let you have a closing here in just a second. But I want to thank you, bottom of my heart. Thank you for enlightening the people on the Diamond Effect and just giving out that dominant truth. I really, really greatly appreciate you being on tonight. And to everyone else, I'll see you all in 7 days. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. There's an old African proverb that the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Stop coming up with great excuses not to get started. Get yourself started, because you never know when the day before is actually the day before. Because at this point in time, anything can happen at any time. So get started before it's too late. I'll stop there.
Well, Dr. Sherry, I can't thank you enough for coming on to this platform and educating us with what you've gone through. I'm sure not everything about that is super, super easy to talk about. And I'm glad that you were able to speak about that with us and enlighten a lot of us, because it can help all of you, you know what I mean, out there that are listening. So I really can't thank you enough for coming on here and doing that for us. And Aaron and AB, I can't thank you guys enough for making this happen, man. So much love, honor, respect to everybody.
Okay. So do you have a final word that you want to put out, Dr. Jackson?
I want to say thank you for having me on, your audience. I really appreciate you being here. It was my pleasure to give the information. I'm out there. I'm one of the elders now, so I'm just a wealth of information for people. And you can contact me, and those that want to go to Costa Rica, we can come to Costa Rica. But everybody, just like Aaron said, we need to start planning yesterday.
That's right. Very true. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys here in the next in 7 days. Much love.